a convenient fiction of the legal system and gives them some limited rights. This, in my country, in the United States, there was a recent Supreme Court ruling that established what can best be described as free speech rights for corporations, which is an unprecedented expansion of the kind of rights that are now to be afforded with corporations. For example, this struck down several laws that had to do with limiting corporations, giving politicians money in various ways. So this turned out to be a very important decision and strengthened the legal standing of corporations in the United States. Even without this latest wrinkle, corporations have dramatic powers, and those powers, as we see here, are growing. Another reason for some concern about this is that one inequity that people are struggling with all over the world, and I'm particularly interested in the United States, where the problem has been increasing in the last decade or two. And that is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. The gap is widening. And some of the fastest growing inequities are in my country, the United States. Now, many, not all, large multinational corporations are quite a bit of this problem, as the people who head these corporations are paid a lot more money than the lowest people on the totem pole in those same corporations. And so they are making this gap worse. So to summarize part one, people are striving for broader rights, and there has been some progress. And as we expand to more and more people, there is also an advocacy for rights for non-human entities, including the environment, animal rights, and so forth. Floridi and his people who are listening to him are pushing even further than that in using an information ethics idea in order to push to be even more inclusive. And then finally, something else to keep in the back of your mind for the rest of the talk, corporations are powerful non-human entities that are gaining in power and strength. Part two, let's talk about some sophisticated machines. I'll be talking about several different kinds of intelligent machines, computer programs that don't have mechanical parts, such as web bots. These are the programs that go out and look for the best price on something for you, the search engines. Also, there are artificial intelligence programs. We'll talk in some detail about one early such program called ELIZA. Now, when you add mechanical parts to a computer program, then you get to call the machine a robot. So physically manifested computer programs are robots. Some robots are used essentially as puppets where there are human operators. But those human operators can give increasingly abstract commands to their machines, making the machines more and more autonomous. So, and we'll see examples of both of these. Within the classification of robots, we're going to make a smaller classification of humanoid robots where there are some characteristics of a human that are embodied in the machine. Again, we'll show some examples. And then a subset within the humanoid robots are humanoid robots that in addition are made to resemble humans. So Android is our smallest subset. These are the machines that look and try to act as much like humans as possible. Then beyond that, we have humanoid robots that don't necessarily resemble humans but have some characteristics of humans. And then other robots that don't have any kind of mimicking or modeling after humans. And a final category we're going to look at are cyborgs. And cyborgs are part human and part machine. Now, I should mention that in the popular press, people keep mixing these up. But please go with me on these definitions, at least for the rest of this talk. So let's focus a little on this cyborg idea. On the left part of this graph, I want to put 100% human. There's nothing but carbon-based flesh and blood kinds of things on this side. You're an unadulterated human. Many of us, for example, those of us who wear glasses, cannot claim to be 100% human. And there are plenty of ways to move from here to here, and we'll talk about a few of those in a moment. Here I'm going to put a 100% robot, no biological parts, nothing carbon-based, silicon-based, iron. This is completely synthetic. Now, you move from here to here by replacing or enhancing your parts. So if you get a pacemaker, that moves you from 100% human. If you have a hip replacement, you're moving over a little more. If someday you have an enhancement of an embedded computer memory that you can put behind your eyes, that would push you over here. Now, every good continuum needs a metric, so I'm going to use the following metric. You move from here to here by measuring by weight the percentage of you that is not original parts. So you can move incrementally across here as you add new parts or enhance yourself mechanically. There is going to be homework on this, so you have to have this idea down. Are we okay on the cyborg idea here? All right, I'm getting nods. So I'm going to ask you some questions now about this whole cyborg thing and how this changes your view of someone who becomes a cyborg. So, the phrase "one person, one vote" is a slogan that has been used for decades to try and give rights to people in democratic societies. Should all cyborgs get the vote as well? Are cyborgs persons? Or are they fractional persons? Is there some percentage in this continuum beyond which we shouldn't call someone human? If there is such a percentage, what should it be? Oops, excuse me. And if you don't think there should be a percentage, and you allow, for example, someone who is 99% non-human, but still a cyborg, and you say that individual gets one vote, but if they take the last percent, no votes. I would like you to pick someone who's around you, introduce yourselves, and take a few moments to discuss the question of should cyborgs get a vote. And as soon as you and your partner or partners come up with something interesting, I'd invite you to come up here and share the microphone for just a minute or two and tell us what you think about the cyborg vote. Go.
Well, we didn't really come up with a percentage because we didn't like the definition in the first place. So we couldn't really, well, at least I couldn't really get past that. I think a definition using weight is very arbitrary and quite irrelevant. If we have someone who has a broken femur, hip and arm, we might have 50% plus weight, but it has not necessarily very much effect on the impact vote. Whereas we have a tiny microchip which might contribute to 0.0006%, which has an enormous impact on the way that they may vote, then clearly the skew in relevance of weight is questionable.
I think we should give her a hand. It's an adroit dodge of the question, and a completely justified criticism, I might add, and one that I've had several times when I've given this talk. A problem is any measure has its critics in this case. That is, if you use functionality, it's very difficult to measure, and the nice thing about this metric is it's easy to measure. It may be measuring the wrong thing, and we academics in computer science are very good at measuring precisely things that don't matter. And so, did anyone come up with an answer about the vote? Please. And you have to speak into two microphones. So, this one and this one.
Yeah, this is our group discussion. First, we discussed that cyborgs cannot give cannot have the one vote. Yeah, because this is belong to one or a group of person. This person have one vote already, so they cannot give the vote to the cyborgs. That is one idea. But the other ideas come from if the technology develop fast and the cyborgs look like a human, and cyborgs may be the human that we cannot recognize. Which one is cyborgs, which one is human? So how we think, okay, this is cyber, so we cannot give the vote, and this is human, you can give the vote. This is a question that we are discussing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know you'll find this hard to believe, by the way. Very interesting ideas, very interesting questions. Wait till you see my next slide after that description.